Hello, everybody, and welcome to the newest edition of the AEW Dynamite Modcast review show, Fright Night Edition. It is Halloween, the nights are drawing in, it's starting to get a little bit spooky here, especially since we're recording an hour earlier than I normally do because of daylight savings time. But we are here, we are ready to talk about AEW Dynamite, what I thought was a really, really solid show, an excellent show, in fact. And here to talk with me, as always, is the ineffable, I cannot say that adjective that just popped into my head on camera. My lovely co-host, Dory. Please introduce yourself to the faithful.
I've never been so insulted by you saying my lovely co-host because I just know it's full of venom and lies. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another AEW Dynamite Modcast podcast review. I just went grocery shopping, so if you hear some noise in the background, that's that. I have ghosts doing it, of course.
We're a
in
thoroughly
light of the season.
professional. We're a
That's
thoroughly
right, very
professional
professional.
organization here.
Absolutely. This was a super solid episode of Dynamite. I think Adam will agree with me that the Fright Night four-way and the main event four-way were probably the highlights of the night. I don't think there are going to be any big amount of speculation for angles or any like huge tangents or discussions on this one. I think we're just going to get right into the action. So,
bold of you to assume I won't go off.
Yeah, no, I know. Bold of me to assume. You're complimenting me. I'm saying we're not doing tangents. This is already a weird episode. But yeah, we started off with the Trick or Treat Tornado Tag with Darby Allin and OC facing off against Yuta and Garcia.
Yeah, a rare event recently on Dynamite where we start off just in a match. Normally there's some sort of talking or whatever, but nope, just straight into the action. Much appreciated. You know, I don't mind it when they start off with the talking, but Dynamite feels more like Dynamite when you just go straight into a match, I think.
Yeah.
And a really good match at that. You know, like you said, OC and Darby Allin versus the Death Riders of Wheeler Yuta and Red Death Daniel Garcia. Yeah, I thought this was a really good opener. I don't think it set the world on fire by any means, but Darby Allin Tornado Tag. What more do you need to say? The guy's going to do some crazy shit, and he did some crazy shit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this was a really good opening match, I thought.
Yeah, a couple things that I loved is Darby Allin doing that tope through the middle rope onto Yuta on the chair. I loved that spot. That looked so good. He always looks so good when he does that. I mean, he's an absolute missile just coming right at him. The DDTs in this match were really good. Of course, you've got OC who loves his DDT, and it rhymes, so it must be true. And then, of course, you've got all the sort of back and forth between him and Yuta because they know each other so well. So you've got that going on. And, like you said, Darby's just going to do absolutely bonkers spots. So, he goes off the top of some seats and stuff right on two guys. And then he'll, just drive himself into a table or something.
Yeah, there was some really good sort of table bumps in this one. Also, something of note, and they tried to play it off. I think it was a botch, but it worked because you had Darby Allin. I think he hit Wheeler Yuta with the coffin drop.
Yeah.
And Danny Garcia was supposed to come and save him, but he wasn't there in time. So Wheeler Yuta had to execute a very rare kick out of the coffin drop. It's one of those moves that, like, when he hits it, it's usually, unless it's like a big, massive pay-per-view match, that usually signals like that's the end of the match. So I was like, oh, wow, an actual kick out. I don't think it was meant to happen, don't get me wrong. But, like, I thought it did sort of pique my interest a bit, though. I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
I think you could also do that where you can have them kind of play that off in the back, too, where Yuta and Garcia kind of give each other looks or say like, hey, where were you on that pin or something like that. So you could definitely play it up.
Yeah, absolutely. But also I think, Wheeler Yuta, bizarrely, even though he's like the whipping boy, he's almost like the jobber of the group, I think he has the cachet to be able to do something like that just because, like, he's been around for so long, he's so heavily featured.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, if anybody in the group, possibly could, I mean, he's been there in AEW. I don't want to say day one, but he's been there for quite a while now. And he's seen the coffin drop on many guys.
Is Wheeler Yuta a day one guy? I feel like he might be.
He was in Best Friends pretty early on. but I
Yeah,
don't remember exactly when.
I genuinely don't know. I'm just carry on talking. I'm just going to quickly,
Yeah.
we're going to go off on a
So the
tangent.
finish of
My
the match
fucking notes.
was Cassidy did a nice little. Speaking of best friends, did a nice little nod to the best friends with a soul food to Yuta. Cassidy, made sure Yuta would stay out of the match, or Garcia would stay out of the match by diving over Yuta, and then sending him through a table, and then Darby put Yuta in the Scorpion Deathlock to get the tap. Can you
Great.
not my dog because she's just like chewing on something right next to me.
I was so scared
Really?
then that
Right
was
next
our
to me?
producer telling us that we had to start again. This is our second time trying to do this. Um,
Kayfabe,
just a
Adam.
weird.
Kayfabe. My God.
I mean, we are perfectly professional and in
Right.
sync.
That's
This is,
right.
this is completely
Wow.
off the cuff.
This is the real
I
the
looked
real
it up.
curtain call of the Modcast podcast.
I know. I looked it up, by the way. He started in 2021 in
Okay. Yeah, I
AEW.
thought it was like a couple years after, but that was the finish. Any other thoughts from you, Adam, about this match?
Not only to say that it was a really good match and I appreciated it. Got the crowd warmed up. Crowd was great all night. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But one of those matches that you put on just to sort of just because you can, just because there are four great wrestlers and you wanted to do good wrestling. Hook cut a little promo. We don't really need to talk about this. Don't get me started on Hook. We want to go. We want
Yeah.
to sort of keep going through this episode. But it was an all right little promo. Just basically saying he wants to win the match, and everyone says, "Fuck off."
Yeah, you'll be taking the pin.
Yeah, indeed. You are there solely to get tapped out by Samoa Joe and or Bobby Lashley. No spoilers, but we will get into it. Then afterwards, I like this, by the way. I really like this. That backstage, the Young Bucks were preparing to go out, to face the other three teams. Don Callis was backstage getting interviewed by Renee Paquette, spots the Young Bucks and says, "Hey, basically sort of gasses them up. Hey, you guys are the greatest tag team of all time. Nobody respects you. Blah blah blah. You should have a family at your back. Backing you up, and let me show you what the family can do for you." And so, in variation 674 of the Young Bucks entrances, Don Callis did their, ring introduction, and I thought he did a very good job. In another life, Don Callis would be a very good ring announcer.
Yeah, I loved this too, and I think what we're doing, and I'm not going to go on for too long about this, but you know me and Elite lore. I think what we're doing here is Don Callis is going to have like a thing where the Bucks can join them, and I think that's where the Bucks turn face. They finally maybe the Don Callis family goes too far. They hurt Hangman or they hurt Kenny, probably Kenny. And they asked them to super kick him, and that's where they finally turn back face one last time. But anyway, that's just me recklessly speculating.
Yeah, I could also see it sort of almost the other way around, where it's the Bucks screw something up while they're in the, they join the family and then they screw something up or whatever. The family turns on them as sort of like, "Oh, you guys are broke, you're useless, you're washed up or whatever." And then because Kenny's feuding with the Don Callis family, he's the one that saves them.
Right.
But in the end,
that could work too.
I do think that this is probably going to end in one last run for the Elite, because I think it's plainly obvious that all three of them are very close to the end of their career, unfortunately.
Yeah. But we
I
got
don't
into
want to.
probably one of the best matches of the night, which was the Fright Night 4-way #1 contenders match versus Deep Breath, FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler with versus Jet Speed, Speedball Mike Bailey and the Jet Kevin Knight, Young Bucks, Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson, and Jurassic Express, Jungle Jack Perry and Luchasaurus. Oh my God.
Bravo. Fair play. I was sat there just waiting, like, what's he gonna fuck up? What can I rib her on? But no, absolutely nothing.
I was reading off the AEW results, but I did say it all in one breath and I didn't take another breath. So I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Well, if you could sort of say another sentence 3 times as long in one breath, I just want to see something.
Sure. But yeah, this was pay-per-view level match. I mean, no surprise. These are literally probably 4 of the best tag teams in the world right now, in like on national television level, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you say this was one of the matches of the night. This was my match of the night with a bullet. I thought this was spectacular. And yeah, like you said, this was a pure showcase. Like on Collision last week, this was and it was the same teams. A pure absolute showcase of the tag division in AEW in 2025. You know, you
Absolutely.
have a reformed, resurgent Jurassic Express over as hell, and you know it's almost awakened. Not that Jack Perry was a bad wrestler while he was a heel, but it's awakened Jack Perry to be like, oh, I can actually really fucking go in the ring. And then you've got Jet Speed, who have been one of those sort of brand new breakout teams of 2025, along with like Brodido and the like. And then the old stalwarts of Young Bucks and FTR. Like, what more do you want? And this
Yeah.
match was stunning. I thought this was all killer, no filler. They just kept going and going and going. There was a very scary spot. If we're going to talk about specific spots, there was a very scary spot where they were all sort of brawling on the outside, six of them. And you had Dax Harwood and Kevin Knight up on the turnbuckle.
Yep.
And Dax Harwood superplexed Kevin Knight into the pack, and Kevin Knight landed really badly. Like it really looked like he completely fucked up his leg, and he sold it like death. He was like, screaming on the ground and clutching I think it was his ankle. And we were all very, very worried for him. But it turns out
Yeah.
he was completely fine, and we just got worked like the marks we are.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was a little nervous, but when medical didn't immediately come over, I was like, okay, maybe he's okay. I want to call out a couple funny spots to counter the scary spots. I love Bucks and FTR playing off each other. That was some of my favorite. Nothing to take away from Jurassic Express or Jet Speed, but I love how they play off each other. FTR doing the super kicks, Bucks doing the Shatter Machine. Still one of my favorite names for a finisher, by the way. And it's just really funny, just super entertaining to see them do each other's moves. So that was really fun.
Bizarrely, for two teams that are like two of the best tag teams of all time, and they have put on some incredible matches, they're somehow better partners. I don't get it. Like, they're
Yeah.
really, really, they have such great chemistry when they're working together or sort of working in tandem. Like, I don't know. It's weird. And I've seen a Bucks FTR match in person. In fact, for me, it was probably the match of the night in the first All In. And like, they're brilliant opponents, but they're also brilliant partners. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I don't know about you. We'll talk about the finish. I did not expect this finish.
I was between FTR because they're heels or Jurassic Express because they're in the middle of a big push. I
See,
thought
I
that maybe FTR was going to get canceled out by Jet Speed. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was between, same logic, but I was between Jurassic Express and the Young Bucks, because I thought, the Young Bucks, they kind of need their win back. They've been losing a lot, and also Brodido versus the Young Bucks would be incredible. That was my sort of thinking. But no, instead, it looked like it the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express didn't even play into the finish, because for a moment it looked like it was going to be Jet Speed, because Speedball hit that incredible sort of inside out dive, and Kevin Knight hit the UFO splash that he does so incredibly. I believe he hit on Matt Jackson. Looked like he was about to get the win, but FTR sneak in, hit him with the Shatter Machine. 1, 2, 3. FTR win.
Yeah,
I don't know.
the reason I didn't sorry, excuse me, lost my voice randomly. The reason
Thank
I
God.
didn't think that the Bucks were going to win there is just because I believe they've fought Brodido twice now, and so I just didn't. I thought it was less likely that they would fight Brodido. Not that it was impossible, but less likely than FTR.
Yeah, I don't know. I sort of thought to myself that, like, because Brodido and the Young Bucks had two matches and they were really good matches, but they've never done it on pay-per-view.
Oh, okay.
I just sort of thought to myself, well, maybe, just maybe, actually, have they fought them? Sorry, I'm looking. They've only fought them
I thought they
one-on-one.
did do it on pay-per-view, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong about that.
No, they only fought them one-on-one once.
Okay. Right,
So
because the
yeah,
other one was like a trios triple,
yeah, it
like a
was
similar match to this.
Brodito and Kenny versus
Oh,
the Young
right, yeah,
Bucks,
yeah,
but yeah, they've only fought each other. They've only fought each other once, and that was a really fucking good match. I remember that because that was the one where I was like, oh no, it's gonna be another Young Bucks FTR final again, blah blah blah
yeah,
blah blah. And then Brodito just beat them, and I was like, oh my god, holy shit!
yeah,
But yeah, so that's what I was thinking. I was thinking this was going to be a Young Bucks victory. Or no, actually, I thought it was going to be a Jurassic Express victory just because they're so over and they're so
right.
popular and they're so good. I just thought you kind of want to get them on the pay-per-view. But no, FTR, which I'm not mad about. Don't get me wrong. Just because I didn't see it coming doesn't mean it's a bad result. Brodito versus FTR is going to be fucking brilliant.
Yep.
But yeah, I just didn't expect it. But good for them and good for Stokely betting on the winners once again. Fucking
Yeah.
no host bastard.
Yeah, this was really great. There are so many spots to go check out, but honestly, the summary of this match is like an essay. So you should just go watch it yourself. We don't have time to relive every single spot, but go check it out. It's amazing. Lots of last thing I'll say about the match, lots of near finishes that I totally bid on, because it
Yes.
really felt like every team in this could go to Full Gear and wrestle Brodito. So love this match. More, please. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a bit where Jungle. I'm going to keep calling him Jungle Boy because I feel like he's more Jungle Boy than Jack Perry at the moment. But Jungle Boy hit a Canadian Destroyer off Luchasaurus's back, and they went for the
Yes.
cover. And I thought, oh my god, that might be it. But no, it was not because it was quite close to the match, quite close to the end of the match as well.
Yeah, and also when the Bucks hit the BT trigger on Kevin Knight, I also thought that was it.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Because I thought, they've been sort of teasing it throughout the match where they would, get Luchasaurus in position or get sort of, I don't know, Dax Harwood in position, and then
Right.
they'd be broken up, and then they finally hit, the EVP trigger, which is, the Bucks have a lot of finishes, but really it's the BT trigger that is the main sort of
Yeah.
match ender, and so I thought, yeah, that's got to be it, and then it wasn't, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah, and I
I
mean
was
I love Kevin Knight, but I could see him getting pinned more than I could see Speedball getting pinned. So it just I totally bid on it.
Yeah, and in the end, that's exactly what happened. If you were going to look at the match, the 8 people in the match would be like, who's getting pinned in this match? I think most people would say Kevin Knight.
Yeah.
No offense, Kevin, but you know that is the pecking order. But yeah, anyway,
Speaking of a
great.
pecking order, let's talk about the Don Callis family.
Yeah, yeah.
They had a summit. It really helped. Everyone's back on the same page.
Yeah.
Okada and Takeshita love each other. I think they hugged in the ring or something. Who knows?
Well, speaking of someone who has, a family that is very much divided down some very hardly drawn battle lines, a family meeting is a really, really good place to sort of, all come together and,
That's right.
sing kumbaya and drink lots of. Yeah, no, this went exactly as everyone was expecting, which is,
Right.
I, I feel like, right, I've said this before on the podcast. Rather than it just being Takeshita, do you see it? Do you think this might be like a genuine sort of Don Callis family civil war with the battle lines drawn between Takeshita and Okada?
I feel like if they do that, like Kyle has to back Takeshita, right? I mean, he's gotta.
Yeah, I think the more likely scenario is that it's Takeshita and Fletcher against the world sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, Takeshita.
I mean, you can hear it already. A lot of people are cheering for Takeshita because they've always wanted to cheer for Takeshita. They just, he's with Don Callis. And then you hear it even with Don Callis. Kyle is still getting some cheers. Like, yes, it's drowned out by boos. But if you listen carefully, you can still hear some people screaming for him. I think that's mostly Adam. And some people cheering for him. And I just wonder, I mean, God, give me Fletcher and Takeshita versus Brodito or FTR or whatever. Like that would be incredible. I
Yeah,
need my
see the thing.
cinnamon roll back, please.
Yeah, please give me Takeshita's Cinnabon era again.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is with Carl Fletcher, right? He's a heel, and he's obviously a heel because he's with the Don Callis family, or whatever. But also, it's an AEW crowd, and Kyle Fletcher is so fucking good at his job that it's very, very hard to not root for him, just because if you root for him, then he's going to show up more, and if he shows up more, then you're going to get more Kyle Fletcher matches. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you the crowd likes Kyle Fletcher because he's a brilliant wrestler, and also he's charismatic as sin, and he's incredibly attractive. And I'm getting spiraled off.
So, anyways, this was a great segment. And basically, they just talked about the who, what, why, and how of. I think they forgot the where, but I think the where was pretty obvious. They're in the middle of the ring. And it was a great segment. And then eventually Takeshita comes out, the crowd pops, and
Yeah.
Don's
We
like,
should
okay. Oh, go ahead. Oh, the
we should
painting. You want to talk about the painting?
yeah, I was going to say we should mention that Mel Coleman continues to stay in work,
Yes.
and she continues to do great things. That painting is incredible.
She is the gift that yeah, this one was La Familia. It was all of the Don Callis family, just totally ripped in togas. Somebody pointed out that Hechicero still had the cross
Yeah, I saw
straps.
that.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. I was like, I was really trying to not take the picture in, so I'm not surprised that I didn't see it because, of course, Don's right there in the front, totally ripped, looking
Of
like a
course,
Greek god
as is,
as
it's
custom.
basically a still life painting if you think about
Of course, because it makes me still with death.
it.
But yeah, I love that Fletcher starts pulling out this big piece of paper. Kind of reminds me of the Bucks and them doing the whole like.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
remember when they came out as the founding fathers during I think All In and they read that whole thing. Anyway, Fletcher starts reading this whole thing about the oath, the little oath that they took before joining the family. Takeshita comes out. Callis is like, "Oh, that's great, you're here. We thought you had travel issues."
yeah.
I really wonder if Callis knew that Takeshita was the. I think this is the underlying kind of context here, but I think the story here is that he knew that Takeshita wasn't here or was here, but just didn't want him to like cause a scene, so kind of excluded him. But anyway, um, Callis and kind of got between him and Okada, and he's like, okay, for me, Takeshita, please just shake his hand. Takeshita goes to shake his hand. Okada looks like he's going to shake his hand, but of course, what does he do? Flips him
Well,
off.
I mean, as is the right of the rainmaker.
That's right.
How dare you presume that you could shake the man's hand?
Yeah. So they
I,
tried to
I
get in a little brawl, and he said, "You guys are gonna tag on Collision." Turns out they're gonna face the reacclaimed, no, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. I'm very interested to see that match actually, because I don't know if Max Caster or Anthony Bowens would actually take a loss, or is Okada gonna cost Takeshita like Takeshita cost
here
Okada?
here is my prediction.
Yeah.
Here is my prediction. You have two teams, both of whom basically hate each other. Although I feel like there will be two stories coming out of this, which is one, obviously Okada and Takeshita cannot get along, and they start brawling, or one abandons the other or whatever. But two is that the Acclaimed get along and recapture that sort of chemistry that made the Acclaimed so good in the first place.
Yeah, I think
I
you are
I
starting to see that. Oh, go ahead.
I personally, this is my prediction. Caster pins Okada.
That would
I'm
be incredible. And then he
I'm
can really say he's
genuinely
the best in the
serious.
world.
I'm genuinely serious. I think Max Caster pins Okada. And in fact, do you know what? Do you know what I would do? I'm so serious right now. I'm not even fucking about. I would have Max Caster pin Okada, and that spins off into Max Caster earns himself a shot at the title, and then Okada kills him in like 2 minutes.
That would be fantastic. You know what? Let him cook. I let that man cook. I am completely on board with this. Best wrestler alive. This would be amazing. Yeah, I think this would be great.
Because I think that the Acclaimed are winning, but I think the Acclaimed are winning by, Don Callis family drama, but also they hit, the arrival and the mic drop, how they always used to win matches. And it's like, they're finally back on the same page and they're on winning ways against like possibly the, in terms of pure talent, the best team in AEW.
Yeah. Which is wild to say on a roster of, the 4 teams we talked about earlier, plus Prodito. Yeah, I would love that. I would honestly love that. It would be amazing. I can see Takeshita costing Okada again, and Okada clearly is not allergic to taking pins. He's taken losses before, not many, of course. I think 1 or 2, maybe, but like he'll do it if it makes sense and it looks good.
I'm trying to think who Okada has been pinned by in AEW.
Well, he obviously got pinned in the pay-per-view by Bandito specifically.
He got pinned by Bryan Danielson.
That's right. He got pinned by Bryan Danielson. And then other than that, I can't think of anybody. He didn't even lose to Kenny, so.
No, I was just going to say he got pinned by Ospreay, but no, he didn't. He pinned Ospreay.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Young boy doesn't get to go over the sensei, so.
They might literally just be those two.
Yeah.
What a list that would be. The three people that have
that would be incredible. Maxcaster
is
like setting up some fucking framed photos of him right next to
Bryan
Danielson,
Bandito, and Max Caster.
Bandito, so good, so good. All right. Well, anyway. I think what's happening is we're getting that match at Full Gear, and it's either going to be a draw or Takeshita loses because of not interference, some bullshit, some Don Callis stuff. And then they rematch at C2, and that's where Takeshita wins. Finals, obviously.
Yeah. I could also see them doing a match at Full Gear. Okada wins. A match in the C2. They're in the same bracket, and Takeshita wins. Because if you remember, the winner and the runner-up of one bracket can be the 2 finalists. I think that's what happened last time.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Or was it? No, it wasn't. But anyway, it can happen. So you could just have them both be in the Gold League, and then they're like winner and runner up, and then they can face each other in the final, and then Takeshita wins the series, sort of 2-1.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of series and being 2-1 on it, we had a promo from Olympia is going to face Mercedes on Collision. That'll be great. And then Chris it says here puts the CEO on notice. So she said in an interview, Mercedes, you're upset, you're embarrassed. That was really embarrassing. And on Collision, you're going to be defending your CMLL title, and I'll be there in person to support you. And she also said, you're here tonight. I'm here. Let's go fight. So that'll happen later.
Yeah. You sort of standard stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
Next up was the second match in as many weeks for Kyle O'Reilly and Jon Moxley. The first match I thought was an absolute barn burner. I really like this one. I don't think it was necessarily as good as last week. Just because the finish makes sense, but I don't think it was sort of as shocking or story driven as last week. And like B, I don't know. It felt a bit sort of. It felt rather than it being sort of Jon Moxley taking the coward's way out. This time it felt a bit more like, for fuck's sake, Kyle, can't you hear the ref is counting 8, 9, 10? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw this as one possible result for the match, because there's only so many ways you can do kind of a funky finish, right? And so I was like, well, they already did DQ, so like, what's the other alternative, right? So.
Yeah, I suppose.
I'm not saying like it's my favorite finish, but I see what they're doing. I wonder if they fight again at Full Gear in some kind of like hardcore match, or this is just it. I don't know.
I don't know. No, I feel like it has to go to a finish. I've gone on record as saying, like, I think the Full Gear match for Moxley is Claudio, just because I think
right. I forgot you said that. Yeah.
I think that the Death Riders will sort of erupt in Blood and Guts, and we'll talk about Blood and Guts. But I do think that this gets a third match, and that's when it's possible that after um after the sort of eruption that I expect to happen in Blood and Guts, there's still one Dynamite before Full Gear. Perhaps that's when you do Moxley versus Kyle 3 and Kyle wins. And it's like Moxley has completely lost all his confidence and he's, gearing up to face Claudio, but he can't even beat Kyle. And Claudio just fucking murders him as, that's what should happen because I've booked it.
Of course.
My fantasy booking is always correct.
Of course.
And if they don't do it, then it's a failed promotion. And honestly, they should just pack it up.
Yeah, that's right. T-shirt company. No, nobody sells.
I feel like I should have added a few more bros to make it clear that I'm doing sort of Vince Russo.
You should have, because I didn't pick up that was Vince Russo.
I wasn't literally
again.
I wasn't literally doing Vince Russo, but as I was doing, I was thinking that I sound an awful lot like Vince Russo right now.
He has struck again. But yeah, this was great. I mean, I like double countouts even less than I like DQs. I think I don't know. It's a toss up, but I think I like double countouts even less. But I mean, it's it's serving the purpose of a story. I'm less hot like you. I'm less hot on this than I was their match last week. Still thought it was very impressive. Kyle is just completely outmaneuvering Mox, and it's really fun to watch. So this was great stuff. I don't think there's much more to say about the match. And
No.
I love, by the way, that Briscoe said the word skedaddle. I felt like that should have been the word of the day. He said that you Death Riders sure do love to skedaddle. I was like, ooh, that's a good word. But yeah, or he put Orange after the match where they did the double count out, and obviously both of them won / lost or draw or whatever. Orange Cassidy said, blood and guts. And it was like, it's got to be like the most antithetical blood and guts announcement I've ever heard, right? Remember when Regal did it? It was so exuberant. And then even recently when Jamie did it, it was really like, full of fire and passion. This has got to be like the least like enthused blood and guts I've ever seen in terms of speaking.
I also feel like just blood and guts doesn't lend itself to that sort of poppy popping sort of announcement as War Games does. Like, I feel like you can get a lot of emphasis out of War Games, whereas you can't really do blood and guts. I don't know, it doesn't scan in my head as good. But I think if you're gonna do it, OC doing it very sort of nonchalantly and like, oh, do I fucking have to? Whatever. I really liked it. But yeah, we are getting a men's blood and guts match, and I saw some people unhappy about it. To them, I say, shut the fuck up. They were always gonna do one. Come on. You have a stable that is like 5 very violent wrestlers. How the fuck were they not gonna do a Death Riders blood and guts match? Like, come on. But anyway,
yeah, I completely agree. They were always going to do a men's thing. I think it's fine. I think it'll be a great match. It'll be a short show, but I think it's fine. You do 145 and 145, and then you have a couple of segments and maybe a filler match in the middle. Like, it's fine. It works fine for me. It gets a lot of people on the card. Even then, like, that's still like 20 people on the card minimum, right?
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. They've been doing a lot of sort of 2.5 hour, 3 hour things. Wouldn't surprise me if that's like a 3 hour show.
Yeah, that's true. They could do that too.
You know what I mean? Like, you can have the 2 blood and guts matches. You'll probably have like I don't know whether you'd have a tag team tournament match in there. Probably, just because you need to keep that tournament ticking along. I know they're doing women's blood and guts. But you could easily have like Mercedes and Athena versus, I don't fucking know, or whoever is in the, I don't know.
Yeah, you could do a women's tag match. I mean, that would be, pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Speaking of the women's tag tournament, you had my favorite thing in all of the world right now, which is Mercedes Moné and Athena in the next segment, because Mercedes and Chris were fighting, as was foretold earlier in the night.
Yeah.
They went out onto the into the ringside area, on camera and whatever. Chris is about to she gets the upper hand. She's about to get in the ring. And Athena comes along and gets the upper hand, Mercedes hits the backstabber, Athena hits the O-face. Every time, I tell you what, I've been watching Athena slash, Ember Moon, for like ages. And every time she hits the O-face, it blows my mind. I think, how the fuck do you hit it so perfectly every time? To be able to sort of, aim so perfectly, grab onto the head so perfectly, twist so perfect. It just does not make physical sense to me. I don't get it, but it's incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean it's an amazing finisher. So I like this segment. It was fun. And we followed up on some of the stuff. What I really want to talk about out of this segment very briefly is it really bothers me. Some people think that Athena and Mercedes, one of them, are getting pinned in the first round. I just
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. Not with their win-loss record. Like I don't think they're winning the entire tournament. But I don't see them getting pinned in the first or even second round. Like they're making it to the finals. Like Tony wants to sell those seats. Nothing's gonna sell, and Mercedes can absolutely do double duty because then it will give her excuse why she lost the stat. I don't really think the storyline personally. I don't think the storyline has anything to do with whether Mercedes can make excuses or not. In fact, all of her matches are her making excuses either by cheating or by doing a sneaky sneaky move here or there. Like she's barely pulling out a victory all the time. So I don't know. I just think this would make total sense. Plus, they haven't even announced where the finals are, and we seem to be taking our time with it. Like we're not doing it every Dynamite and Collision. We seem to only be doing this tournament on Dynamite. So I mean, you could put it either past Full Gear, or you could even do it. If Mercedes is in it, you could do it in Boston. Which I mean,
Here's
yes, that's me being greedy, but I do think it would make sense.
here's my prediction. I think that if you look at the schedule, if you only do it on Dynamite, and let's say you miss, or I don't even think you even need to necessarily miss 1 week. I reckon they will have. I'm stamping my authority down on here. I think that they will have the finals of the women's tag team tournament match in Manchester in front of like I don't know how many people they're going to get in that building, like 12, 13,000 people in the co-op. That's what I think. I think they're going to make that Dynamite the last Dynamite before Christmas, and in the UK, they want to pack it. I think they're going to make the final there. You good? Have I stunned you into stunned silence?
Oh, sorry, I was talking. I forgot I muted myself. So
Boo.
I was in muted silence, yes. But yeah, so schedule wise, if they skip the blood and guts match and they do every other match only on Dynamite, not on Collision, it would take us all the way to like what, December 17th or
Which
24th
is,
or something?
I think it's December 17th, which is exactly when the Dynamite in Manchester is.
Wow. Okay. I mean, interesting. I wouldn't even think they would go out that far, but I mean, I'm fine with whatever makes sense. I mean, we've already gotten a shakeup in the tag tournament that we'll talk about in a little bit. That was unfortunate / very cool.
Yes, indeed. And
Yeah.
speaking of the tag tournament, we had the first match of the. Oh, we should mention as well that Bandito is defending his world title against Mascara Dorada on Collision.
Jesus
Which
fucking
is
Christ, man.
fucking incredible. Like,
They are loading up Collision. This is the second week in a row where there's been at least one match where I'm like, well, I got to be there.
yeah, it's going to be incredible. But also the video package involving Bandito's family that they aired on like social media made it to TV. It's so heartwarming. If you haven't caught it, just go and catch it. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's like really sort of uplifting and lovely to see all the Bandito's family talking about, we love him and he's a fantastic wrestler and we believe so hard. But that sort of thing. But yeah, really lovely. But yeah, then we had the inaugural match of the women's tag team title tournament, which is the Sisters of Sin of Julia Hart and Sky Blue versus Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata. Now, I thought this was a good match. I want to get that out of the way first of all. I thought this was a good match. Jamie and Queen Aminata look incredible all the time, especially Aminata. I thought she looked really good in this match. I don't want to dwell too much on this. I think this is This is the logical result, but I think it's the wrong result, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I always, not I always, but like this result didn't surprise me just because, like you said, it was logical. Like the Sisters of Sin lost last week, and it would look bad if they lost again this week. But I don't know. You could have had the Sisters of Sin win this week or win last week, pick Jamie Hayter and Aminata, and then lose this week, and then have Jamie and Aminata go forward. Because I'd rather see Jamie and Aminata versus Mercedes and Athena than what we're gonna get, which feels weird, right? I mean, that's one thing that a little makes me a little nervous because why would we be having Sisters of Sin versus Athena and Mercedes, right? Like that's a heel versus heel match. I know Athena's got her supporters in the crowd and even Mercedes does, but still it's a little bit weird booking wise. So that does make me a little nervous because it's like I don't think that they're losing in the first round unless they fall out like immediately with each other. But they looked good earlier in that segment with Chris. Like they seem to
The o-
have good teamwork. So I don't know.
the only reason why there's any shred of doubt in my mind that Mercedes and Athena are winning is the fact that it's Willow Nightingale, and
Yes.
Willow can you can just have Willow beat these big, because she is a top star. She's one of the top stars in your division. You can just have her beat Mercedes and Athena. I don't necessarily think Harley Cameron's good. Yeah, I think the logical thing is to say that Harley Cameron is getting pinned by Mercedes, just because that's been sort of building for a couple of weeks now. But yeah, just to talk briefly about this match, it was a good match. Go and watch it. Like I say, they all look great. I just I have some thoughts about Julia Hart in particular that I'm just like I don't want to dogpile on her because I know she gets a lot of sort of hate from people, and I think a lot of it is unjustified. But I do somewhat think that this women's division is beginning to pass her by. Like the women's division has come on leaps and bounds in the last 5 years. Whether that be acquisitions, whether that be, current or existing talent in the division stepping up and improving, like Chris Statlander, like Willow Nightingale. You know, I just sort of think that I expected more from Julia Hart by now. We're 2 years out we're 2 years gone from her winning the TBS title. And if anything, she's regressed in that time. I don't know. What do you think?
I hear what you're saying. I think that I'm not as over her as like you are, but I see where you're coming from. I can definitely see that it's tough because when you're in the ring with two talents like Aminata and Jamie, right? And they're just so good at what they do and they have that presence too, while Sisters of Sin have the presence, but they're undeniably more green in the ring. Like, I mean, Aminata, right? Spoilers for DPW, but she just became DPW Women's Champion. Like, she's taking those indie bookings. I'm not saying indie bookings are panacea or they're always the solution, right? Because it's more complicated than that when you're always working TV and have busy lives and schedules, right? And you don't want to wrestle all the fucking time. But at the same time, when you're in AEW, right, the whole tagline is it's where the best wrestle. And do I feel like Sky and Julia are fully living up to that right now? Like, no, I feel like they can still get there, but I'm not sure if they're going to. I think we're in that period of AEW where we're finding out who's going to make it long term and who's not. Like, we're having these discussions. And no, we're not going to get into a tangent about it, but we're getting these discussions with Top Flight and with Sisters of Sin and with Hook and so on and so forth. And I think over the long run we will figure out who's going to stick around and who's going to not. So I agree
Yeah,
with you
but
though. This was all that said. This was a good match. I thought it was fun. It was pretty good. I could have used more time with it. I felt like Julia and Sky both looked good, but I think if they had done the match more in a singles, I think their weaknesses would have been more, you know, uh, would have been more apparent. But I think that's the
yeah,
benefit of them being in a tag is that they're able to hide each other's, greenness a little bit.
what I would say, you say about who's going to stay around long term and who's going to start falling to the wayside. If you look at like the Triangle of Madness, it is crazy just how much just how higher up in the pecking order, just how much better Tekla is than the other two. Like, it's insane. I think Tekla's ceiling in AEW is, I don't think she has one. I think the sky is the limit for Tekla in AEW. Whereas you look at someone like Julia Hart, and I'm beginning to worry that she might have just hit her limit already, and she's like, what, 23? I don't know. It's a concern for me.
Sure.
But I don't want to dwell on it because I want to talk about the
Let's talk about
match.
this next fucking segment with Megan Bayne. Well, on several levels, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, Mega Bad, one of the tag teams that has been sort of the foundation of this women's tag division over the past year or so. They're backstage, and and Penelope Ford is in a sling, and she announces to the world that she's torn her UCL, which is a very fucking nasty injury. And what a shame, because the ulnar collateral ligament is like basically the ligament that supports your entire elbow, pretty much. If you tear that, then it's a really common one in baseball, for example, and pitchers that get a UCL tear, they're out for like over a year. And I really hope that's not the case for Penelope, because she's been through so much. But just absolutely, it's just dreadful.
Yeah, this was terrible. This was I hated seeing this for Penelope. Penelope has been such a great member of the women's roster. We're praising her basically every week. I feel awful for her. And like you said, without going into detail, because it's been mentioned before, but she's been through a lot personally, and it's just heartbreaking to see her go through this as well. I wish her the best. I hope she has a fast recovery. It depends on how bad the tear is, I think, and she's not playing baseball, so it's a little different, but I mean, she does that handspring elbow, and she does the moonsault, and like, she does a lot with her hands, right? And it's very focused on that. So it's a major blow to Megasis, and it really sucks. But the good news, I guess, Adam, is that we got a hell of a fucking replacement, didn't we?
Yeah, fucking hell. Like, Megan Bayne was sort of like, a bit sort of, I don't know, despondent, because she's lost her tag partner, and the tag titles were hers to lose, really, in some ways. But who should show up to pitch herself as a replacement but Marina Shafir with Jon Moxley in tow? Like, holy shit. And Jon Moxley made the point in the moment that was like, these two, he basically was like, that's going to be something special. And yeah, holy shit. If you want to talk about like most improved people over like the past, I don't know, 12 months or so, you'd be like the most improved, I don't know, Wrestling Observer Award. I feel like Marina Shafir has to be very close to the top of the pack there. Like, holy shit. You forget, like, 12 months ago, she was best known for that god-awful promo in the
You
straw
don't
hat.
know me.
Yeah. And now she is, like, the enforcer of the Death Riders. She has a 5-star match to her name, lest we forget. And 12 months ago, we'd been like, what? If she pitched herself as the replacement, we'd be like, Marina Shafir? Are you fucking serious? Like, wasn't there anyone else? Whereas now we're like, oh my God, this is incredible. And also, I think it kind of means, because they know that Penelope Ford is going to be out for a long time. And Megan Bayne, she's the sort of person that you can't just take off TV because she's incredible. What better way to ensure that you have something for Megan Bayne all of the time? Put her in the fucking Death Riders. Like, holy shit.
This was, I mean, I was jumping. I was jumping around. I was getting up, I was getting down. Anyway, yeah, this was such a momentous announcement. I mean, I can't think of many people who would be better. I was really wondering who's going to show up, and I was trying to run through the roster in my head really quick, but before I could even get very far, Marina just shows up and says, "I'm listening." I was like, "Holy shit, what?" It's great too because we don't see a lot of Marina in the ring. I mean, every time we do, she's been great, but we just don't get to see a lot of it. So this can help her really kind of find her footing in the ring. I mean, I know she's been great on the indies, right? She's been doing a lot of um a Revolver, right? But and
And D5.
DPW stuff, I think. Maybe Bloodsport too. But
And
but she
D5,
has
D5 as well. She's the D5 World Champion.
that's right. I was gonna say Defy, but I was like, maybe I'm confusing it with something else. And yeah, this will give her good momentum into that. But yeah, I'm excited. I wonder if they'll come up with a new name too instead of Megasis. Maybe they'll be you know, super super mother's milk. No, that would be terrible.
Fucking hell.
Roderick Strong's favorite tag team. All right. So anyway,
Hey.
we should probably talk about the main event.
Yes, we should. I thought this was a tremendous main event. This was the
This exceeded my expectations. I mean, not that I thought it'd be bad, but I was like, there were, again, respectfully to Bobby Lashley, I didn't get to see a lot of his best work when I was a wrestling fan, aka I only really saw his WWE/ECW run, which was not good, and filled with lots and
Agree.
lots of racism. And then Hook, you know, I've obviously soured on him. So that really just leaves Ricochet and Samoa Joe, who are both like, I love both of them. Can we talk about Ricochet for a second? Holy fucking shit, this man showed out.
I know.
Sometimes I forget who the hell Ricochet is, but this match reminded me, like, he's not just a comedy act. Like, this man can go. He did, like, I think he did two really impressive high flying moves, landed on his legs both times, like feet, like it was nothing. Both times. It was wild.
It really was. And like, people have known, you know, we know that Ricochet can do this because he's one of the best high flyers, for my money, of like his generation.
Yeah.
And so we know he can do this. And he didn't have the opportunity to do it for so long. And he's come to AEW. And a lot of people, when he came to AEW, were like, oh, well, you know, he might, you know, hopefully he gets the show out, but I'm worried he's going to be lost in the shuffle in AEW. They go a bit, you know, the top of the card is incredibly stacked. And where will he fit in or whatever? Fits AEW like a fucking glove. Like, he can do everything. He's incredible. And I'm so happy for him because he's one of the, at one point he was one of the best in the world. I still think he's incredible. And he never got the respect or the spotlight that he deserved in the other place. And it began to look like, as the years ticked over, that he would never get back to this sort of form. And he has. I feel the same way about people like Shelton Benjamin, where it's like,
yeah, I was just about to say, it beat for beat, what you're saying sounds like Shelton. Man, I wonder if there's any kind of, like, I don't know, overlap between Shelton and Ricochet, something that they share in common, Adam. I don't know. You're just thinking out loud. Just maybe something that they're both very similar on. But anyway.
Boldness.
Boldness, that's right. WWE, known discriminator against the bald.
Yeah.
But yes, this was great.
I think there might be more to that than you realize. If you look at people like Claudio Castagnoli, Ricochet, Shelton Benjamin. When was the last time they had a bald world champion?
Man, this goes deep.
Genuinely, it might be Bobby Lashley.
And I think that was like, what, in the 2020s? Well, obviously we are in the 2020s, but early 2020s is what I mean. Pandemic era,
I think it was
maybe.
like 3 years ago or something like that. But yeah, anyway, this match was brilliant. Like you say, Ricochet for me was the MVP of the match. I thought Bobby Lashley looked really, really good.
Except for that spear, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know, you can't. The thing is,
it was a really cool spot. I think it was fine. I know some people are gonna say, oh, Samoa Joe just kind of like deedled and dawdled like in the middle of the ring while Bobby Lashley was setting up the spot. Although I think realistically, what the fuck are you gonna do, right? I mean, you could drop Hook, but then once you pick yourself up, you're getting speared. So I don't know. Yeah. It just felt like a bad choice for Joe.
The thing is, like, people will say, oh, it was a weak spear or whatever. You gotta sort of look at it in the context of, peeling back the curtain here. The Muscle Buster, 99 times out of 100, it's incredibly safe, but you got to remember, it did almost kill a man. So it's one of those moves that you are going to be instinctively very careful with. If you're going to do a spot like this, the last thing you want is Bobby Lashley spearing the fuck out of Samoa Joe, him over-rotating or doing something wrong, and in the end, ending up hurting Hook. Like, you don't want that. the last thing you want is another Tyson Kidd on your hands or something like that. So it just made sense. Do the spot. It's a cool spot, but also be a little bit safer than you normally would with it. Because I have no doubt that if Hook wasn't on his shoulders, Bobby Lashley would have speared Joe's fucking guts out of him.
Yeah,
So
I agree. And when Joe, I will say one of my spots of the night too, as much as I'm not like Lashley's biggest fan, was when he picked up Joe, which you never see, and slammed him to the ground. I was like, I popped for that like audibly. I was like, holy
I know.
shit. So cool.
I know it was, and there was a spot where everyone kept doing sort of consecutive suicide dives, and you would have like Ricochet hit one, and then Bobby Lashley hit one. Then they're all out on the other side, and they all turn around, and Samoa Joe comes barreling, absolutely
Genuinely,
barreling through the ring.
genuinely, I would rather take a Looney Tunes-esque bump from a piano coming from a second story building than that. I'd rather take the piano. I have a better chance of living.
I know it's like, imagine just being there, you sort of fight or whatever. You just look up at this Samoa, like all 300 fucking pounds of Samoa Joe
Good Lord.
barrel, absolutely throwing himself at you. I shit myself. But yeah,
Yeah,
anyway,
this was a great match. There's so many spots we could call out, but this is another one that you should really go check out for yourself.
mm,
The finish ended up as long as you don't have anything else you want to highlight, Adam.
only to say that after the spear, the weak spear or whatever, Lashley goes to cover Joe, but Ricochet breaks it up with a springboard 450, and I popped
Yes,
out of my seat. It was
so good.
brilliant. I think the
Uh,
finish. I really like the sort of the mechanics of the finish, even if the execution ended up going a little bit awry.
sure.
Where it was like Joe had Hook in the coquina clutch, he collapsed down. Lashley notices, he goes to sprint back, and the idea was that as he's about to get in the ring, Hook, taps out. The timing was a little bit off because Lashley got
Yeah,
there a bit early.
Hook didn't tap in time. He should have tapped
Yeah,
earlier. I don't know what he was doing.
yeah, I don't know, but I mean,
I
it's
will
Hook.
say,
So.
look, I know we rag on Hook. I will say one good thing about Hook in this match: the suplex that he gave Joe. I want to say looked really cool. I liked that spot. I know he does it all the time, but it still pops me when he. And I know Adam, you said similar. It still pops me when he suplexes the big guys with such such good, like he gets that from his dad for sure. Like
Oh,
he
absolutely.
the suplex would look great on Joe. So that was at least good, but he kind of fucked up the finish. He should have just tapped earlier. No one would have blamed him. No one would have cared.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just you're in the coquina clutch with Samoa Joe. You can tap early.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, as it is, I think it's probably the right winner. Though I would have liked Bobby Lashley personally, but I understand, and I'm never going to be
Yeah.
mad about Samoa Joe getting another world title shot because he's brilliant.
I wonder how they make the second one different because I thought their match at Wrestle Dream was great, but it needed something more, and I don't know if they do a stipulation or they just go back to like the basics. I don't know.
I would imagine you got the second match in a row on the second pay per view. You could do. I mean, you could just do a singles match. I know that you had back to back singles matches last year between like Hangman and Jay White that were just singles
Sure.
matches. You didn't add a stipulation. But I personally, it's the world title. It's Samoa Joe. I would make it like some sort of no DQ or something. You could even make
Right,
it
right.
something like a steel cage
And
or
that gives
something.
it more jeopardy too, because then the ops can interfere, and Hangman's got to fight off Powerhouse, and who's having, by the way, low key a stellar week. My man is slamming laptops. Good for him.
Yeah,
But
honestly,
yeah,
it's inspiring because my laptop, my sort of work laptop, has been fucking up recently. So I was just like, oh god, I wish I could just slam this motherfucker on the desk.
let's.
Uh,
I hate to rush us, but let's quickly talk about this last
yes,
segment, which was amazing, but took a little bit too long and a little
yeah,
bit too awkward to get there, but was still amazing.
they were very lucky that the payoff was as amazing as it was. Because if it wasn't,
Yes.
I was ready to be like, this was terrible.
So
But
I think we should give a little bit of context really quick. So the whole night they have been purposely showing a man in a presumably a man in a Stay Puffed Marshmallow costume the whole night. And obviously
yeah,
that's a reference to the Halloween show. I was actually there for that, where Hangman came out of the Stay Puffed Marshmallow. One of my favorite AEW moments of all time, by the way.
yeah,
And And so, of course, everybody thinks, well, that's got to be Hangman, right? And so I love that the kind of, well, we watched the show too, dumbass. And like you
Yeah.
see Joe, Tony Schiavone's like, let's celebrate, let's, get some wine for your next title shot, which is a little weird, but whatever. Because he won the match, I guess. And Joe's like, do you think I'm stupid? And he's like, you must think I'm dumb. And so he pulls off the Stay Puft Marshmallow mask, and it's not Hangman. And I was like, oh, interesting. So who is Hangman? And they take a while to get there. Adam, you can talk about the rest.
Yeah, I mean, they take a while to get there because they want to set up, they want to do so many things. They want to get all the sided stuff out there. They want to set up the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. They want to swerve the crowd by not having it be the Marshmallow Man. And then they want to do the toast and whatever. It dragged a little bit, but eventually, they get in the toast, and Shivani's on the mic saying, a toast to Joe, but also to Hangman Page, the true embodiment of cowboy shit. And then the facade drops, the camera pans up, long may he reign in Hangman's voice. And it's Hangman Page in Tony Schiavone cosplay with the Phantom of the Opera mask and everything. I really like, by the way, just very briefly, that they set up, Tony Schiavone was in quite a few segments throughout the night, so they set up him as the Phantom of the Opera, in that mask,
Yeah.
all throughout the show, so that when you saw it, you didn't automatically think, oh, well, that's not Tony Schiavone.
Yeah.
It really worked very well, and the crowd
It
popped
it, it worked
massive
on
for it.
me because I was like, wait a second, why is he saying this stuff? And I was like, oh my god, like just as he started to, just as before he said long may he reign, I was like, wait a fucking second.
But yeah,
Uh,
brilliant.
and
And
he
then,
dyed his hair. I don't know if you noticed, he dyed his hair like Tony Schiavone color too.
yeah, I know it was so well done. It
Very, very
absolutely got
dedicated to
me.
his craft. I love Hangman.
But yeah, they had a big sort of pull apart brawl. Very good stuff. Very good way to end a really, really good show. I thought this was an
By the way,
excellent
one
show.
last thing about this. Was Adam doing a Tony Schiavone impression, or was a pre-recorded
No,
Tony Schiavone coming over the mic? Like, how did they do that?
I think it was pre-recorded because if you watch it back, you can sort of hear Hangman saying it, but then Tony Schiavone is sort of dubbed over.
Yeah.
So I think it was pre-recorded, but because it's too good an impression. I love Hangman, but it sounds like 100% like Tony Schiavone. I'm fairly confident it was pre-recorded.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
I
Go ahead
thought
with
this.
what you were saying.
No, I was only just finishing up. I thought this was a really good show. I know you got to get going. But yeah, is there anything you wanted to add? Only to plug anything
Well,
you
I
wanted.
mean, the card for Full Gear is really getting stacked. I'm really excited. I hope they do something different with Joe and Hangman, but even if they don't, I'm sure it'll still be a great match. I mean, it's two of the best. So, I don't think it'll captivate me. But I do. One last thing I'll say is that I think Mercedes and Stat may main event over Joe and Hangman
Yeah,
too, because I feel like that is the bigger match. I will say I'll be a little disappointed if they don't, because that shouldn't be main eventing over Mercedes and Stat, because there's actual jeopardy there. No one thinks Hangman's losing here. Even in a rematch with Joe, I still don't think he's losing.
yeah, I agree. Um, I think that Mercedes versus Stat for the world title is one of those matches that you can, if you're gonna do your first ever women's main event on pay-per-view, that is a fantastic one to do it. And it just so coincides with a feud that, while good, is not necessarily one that has to be in the main event for the world title.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely, I think that's your main event. But I
Yep.
think that should wrap us up, right?
That's
I
it.
know
Yeah.
that you gotta go, I gotta go, but it was very lovely to talk to you about a very good episode of Dynamite. We'll be
Yeah.
back next week for the next one. We're back on schedule, baby. And yeah, I think that should just about do us. Do all the
Keep
things, the
rolling,
liking,
rolling,
the
rolling.
subscribing and stuff. Yeah, exactly. We just keep going. The content farming never stops.
That's right. And all the
Uh,
money that we make from it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
The delay.
if we keep going for another 10 years, I might be able to buy myself a coffee.
That
Uh,
that's right. Maybe even two. Yeah, happy Halloween, everyone. It's my favorite month of the year, my favorite holiday. So I just hope everyone has a lovely Halloween, lots of candy, lots of scary movies if that's your thing. I'm looking forward to talking about Dynamite next week.
Yep, me too. So yeah, like, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you very much for listening to us ramble, and ta-ra, good night.